everyone should have a dream. Certainly most people don't want to come and ride the TT, and I guess I don't blame them for not wanting to do that. But I feel sorry for someone who doesn't have a TT in their life. You know, we all have dreams, we all have things that we want to do, and what we tend to do is we tend to put them off, and never do them.
In January of 2002, 46-year-old Canadian Mark Gardner quit his job, packed his bags, and moved to the Isle of Man, all for a motorcycle race. Here on this tiny island in the middle of the Irish Sea, the Isle of Man Tourist Trophy, or TT as it is known, is one of the world's oldest and most celebrated motorcycle races. Held entirely on public roads, the TT is a time trial. Gardner arrived on the island with only his racing leathers, his checkbook, and a bicycle. Having rented a house on the outskirts of Douglas, he began his adventure by learning the course, the slow way. The object of coming to the island was twofold. The first was to qualify, race, and finish the TT itself. The second was to try to answer the question, why go racing?
At a sort of superficial level, riding the bicycle was a good way of building up my fitness for the race. But more importantly, I wanted to get a sense of the landscape on the Isle of Man. What it is at this moment is really, I need to understand that at 100 or 150 miles an hour on a motorcycle. But to understand the landscape itself and to understand the course in its historical context, I need to be going a lot slower. It's in a way served as a real icebreaker between myself and the whole community here. People sort of now know me as that guy that's ridden the mountain course 30 times or whatever it is. They at least understand that I must be committed. Maybe I should be committed. Maybe they think that. I don't know.
Every part of the TT course has its own history, and it's lined with memorials to past riders and heroes. Irishman Joey Dunlop won the TT 25 times.
The course is actually called the Mountain Course, and we're on the mountain here, and you know, Dunlop had the largest number of wins, so it's really a sort of a, I mean, I don't want to get too mystical about it, but there's sort of I guess there's kind of a convergence of a whole bunch of things right here at this spot, aren't there? We're on the mountain course. This is an actual piece of it. So I'm going to take this with me when I leave, assuming I leave.
Gardner's fascination with the Isle of Man began as a child when he discovered in an encyclopedia a little island illustrated with a motorcycle. Even then, he understood that it was a place defined by motorcycle racing. Nearly 40 years later, however, he was given new incentive for coming to the island when he was diagnosed with systemic lupus, an incurable and often debilitating blood disease.
It really served as a reminder to me that there were a whole bunch of things that I couldn't count on being able to do, physical things, which had always been really, really important to me. And I realized I can't count on being able to do these things forever.
Gardner had originally planned to build up a race bike in Canada and ship it over to the island. But costs and logistics were too complicated, and in the end, he arrived on the island hopeful that this was the one place where he could find a race bike on short notice. He was right. At Paget's, one of the island's largest dealerships, Mark was able to put $6,000 down on his credit card and lease a brand new Honda CBR 600 F4i. Licensed and insured, he began breaking the bike in and learning the mountain course. That process was made easier by the fact that on the main roads of the island, there are no speed limits.
The TT is really more like a very, very fast road ride. It is, of course, real roads, And what you're looking for is the bike that's fastest on real roads, not the bike that's maybe fastest on a racetrack that's as smooth as a billiard table. The fact is that all of the modern sport bikes are really incredibly capable. They really are realistically much more capable than almost any rider, and I'm totally ready to admit that this bike is faster than I am. I'm sure it'll see 160 miles an hour on long straightaways. On the long downhill stretches, probably even faster. So, fast enough.
Gardner began racing as a teenager, but was terrible at it. It wasn't until he was in his 30s that he realized he needed to go to a racing school and actually learn how to do it. That began a gradual, step-by-step process, the beginning of an addiction that after over 100 races earned him an international racing license.
At every step of the way, I realized once I'd done what I thought was going to satisfy me, I realized that there was something else left. And finally, a few years ago, I really looked myself in the mirror and realized that I had a piece of unfinished business, and that was here on the Isle of Man.
With a combination of bicycling, riding, and even walking the course, Mark begins to build up a picture of the TT in his head. There are 260 corners on the course, and this is the only means of preparation he's got until the roads are actually closed. Riding the roads now runs the risk of learning the wrong course.
The natural racing line here would essentially be to take the bike all the way over to the right-hand curb down by that earthen bank. But the trouble is we need to turn right after that. So we have to sacrifice a little bit on this turn to gain something more, hopefully earn it back with a little bit of interest just on the other side of this corner. Really, they're all neutral. The track, the course is an inanimate object, so there's no such thing as a good or bad corner, and there really shouldn't be any such thing as a hard or easy corner. They should all be the same if you have enough information, if you have enough knowledge about them. But you know, some are harder to sort. There are some corners where what you see is what you get, and there are others like this where, you know, first blush you could be very wrong about the cornering. People can sort of understand the adrenaline rush, you might call it, of racing, but there's much, much more to it than that. If you wanted to explain why people race motorcycles, this is the place you would come, because it's Mecca for motorcycle racing, and most importantly, this is the place where those reasons people race are placed in the sharpest focus. Be to be bringing the bike down right about where we're standing right here, and from here, really at the speed you'd be going, to be about as fast, as hard a left as you could make, as much as you could muscle the bike to the left, aiming it at that grassy bank on the left hand side, and that would probably carry you just about on the right line to just get the bike straightened out on the other side, on the far bank there, just so you'd finish with a little bit of a margin for error, maybe a couple of feet. Taking this corner 10 miles an hour faster would really have a significant impact on your lap time.
The 250 newcomers or?
No, I'm doing the 600 production. I'm a junior. be much of an exaggeration to say that I sold out my entire life back in North America to come here and do this. I don't have I have no job, no home, and practically no stuff now except what I've brought here with me. And when this is all over, you know, the good outcome is me basically flat broke, unemployed, and practically naked right here on the Isle of Man. But I'll have the experience.
At the end of May, a few days before TT begins, Mark flies out his race mechanic, Paul Smith, from Canada. It's time to prepare.
There's a possibility that you can get your foot wedged in between the sprocket and the chain, and it's just like a saw. It just takes your toes right off. So basically, we mount this like this, and then you can't do that. Once I get the safety stuff done, it's done. I don't have to worry about that anymore, and also it has to be done in order for him to go out there anyway, even for tomorrow morning. So that has to be done no matter what. The rest of it is just a gradual process that we'll try a few things here and there, and adjust the damping on the bike too, and see how that is. And sort of, I got to rely on what he tells me. I got to get his feedback and then try and understand it in a way that makes sense to me and how I'm going to adjust the bike.
Mark enters 2 races for which he and his bike are suitable, the Production 600 and the Junior. The TT takes place over 2 weeks. The first week is dedicated to practice and is the first opportunity that Mark will have to ride the course using the full width of the road. Qualification is not guaranteed. Over the next 7 days, he and the other riders must post a minimum lap time for each race in order to qualify for the TT itself. A few weeks before practice, Mark's campaign gets a boost when Honda USA agrees to go half on the lease of the bike. In return, they send over American Bodywork to run in the race. Finding sponsorship and support has been a battle, particularly from Canada. In the sense that if Mark doesn't do well, it'll all have been an expensive lesson.
We'll just leave it like this, go out and try it, and then we'll start messing around with it from there. You know, you can even see, like, if you back this off all the way, then it'll be basically how it was before, other than the tires are different. So it'll give you an idea, but I think even as it is, it'll be better already. And plus the tires are, you know, better too.
Yeah, excellent.
So, yeah,
all right.
We're done.
Paul had told me what the tires would be like in the wet, but I don't think he used enough. He didn't use enough swearing to really communicate what they were actually going to be like. You go out there, you're thinking, try to think positive, you know, have a good attitude and all this stuff, but really there's such a loud voice in the back of your head saying, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. It's a terrible way to think, you know, because it is actually what makes you crash, but still, I couldn't avoid it. Conditions were so bad. It's true that the character of the TT has changed in the last 25 years. It has gone from being the British Grand Prix to being its own freestanding thing now. The guys who are a threat to win these races, the fastest, let's say the fastest 6, 8, 10 guys, are professional roads racers. But most of these guys they're amateurs in I suppose, you know, the best and worst senses of the word, but they're here for the love of it. They're here because it is, for them, the championship.
With the first couple of practice sessions under his belt, Gardner stops to apply for some uniquely local race insurance.
There's an incredible wealth of sort of superstition and magical belief. And one of them is that fairies live under the bridges. People write notes and things that they want to happen, wishes, I suppose. You'd say, write down your wishes. and tie them to the trees or stick them in the cracks in the stones of the bridge for the ferries to read. Well, you know, I figure it's cheap insurance. It might, who knows, it might work, and it certainly won't hurt.
The 2 in the mid-afternoon with all classes running together. Given the ever-changeable weather, the time of day can make a big difference to road conditions.
Check the rules on that one. Yeah. But you got them for the junior if you want them.
Yeah.
I think they're cooking.
With practice now well underway, Mark manages to beg a few more favors, and Paget's own race team comes through with some extra bells and whistles for the bike.
He's happy with the bike, and you know, it's getting better and better all the time, which is what I want. He's got a lot of confidence in my abilities and his and the bike and everything, and so everything goes well. The junior, the bikes that he's in with can be heavily modified, like lots of stuff done to them. This is a production bike, very minimal modification, so he's kind of outclassed with a lot of the bikes there, and also it's the longest race. It's the 4-lapper, whereas the next one, the bikes are all going to be very similar to this, and it's only 3 laps, so it's, you know, it'll be easy.
Radio TT.
Here is a notice to all owners of domestic pets and livestock in areas adjoining the TT course. Please ensure that all animals are secure during practice and race periods.
Heading into Tuesday's afternoon session, Mark is feeling confident. His times are improving, and he's getting close to the requirements for qualification.
You never know. I mean, I don't want to really, you know, you don't get good times by thinking about times. You get good times by forgetting about them.
First-time TT riders are called newcomers and are required to wear an orange vest throughout practice. On the course, it's a way for the faster, more experienced riders to distinguish the slower, less practiced ones. Racing the TT is not just about learning the landscape. It's about developing the nerve to ride a 38-mile lap at almost full throttle. As Mark heads out for the course, the third factor in qualifying for the TT rears its head once more. In spite of a sunny start to the day, it's now raining hard on the mountain.
He went through in about 28 minutes or so, and the first guys that went out, the faster guys, were doing about 24 or so.
The left before Kate's Cottage coming down from the mountain, it's actually a really nice turn, tight left.
Yeah.
I broke the rear end loose and my feet came off the pegs.
Really?
So I was thinking, even if I don't see the checkered flag, I think I'll come in.
The weather continues to be bad on Wednesday, and a fast lap is impossible. Adding to the mix now is the fact that the conditions exasperate Mark's lupus. The cold and wet affect his circulation, and sometimes he can't feel his hands. With just 2 days of practice left, Paul is becoming frustrated.
It's time to move things along, to start pushing it a little bit. Like, I'm not saying go out and, you know, risk your neck or anything like that, but I know what this bike's capable of, and he should be able to go good on it, you know. Even dead stock, this thing is fast. Right now we've got this evening's practice, tomorrow evening's practice, and then whatever happens on Friday. So, you know, not a lot of time, and the weather The weather here, you just don't know hour by hour or sometimes minute by minute.
By Thursday morning of race week, even Mark is starting to show his concern about how hard it may be to just qualify for the TT.
Up until now, I've ridden well within my limits here, and you know, I certainly am not saying I'm gonna go and ride right to the ragged edge of my own ability to control the bike, because that would be crazy here. You know, I mean, there are people who are gonna do it, right? There are people who are gonna do that here. They're doing it right now. But there also, for sure, will be people who will kill themselves doing it. I feel that everything that I've done here since January it's been really worthwhile for me. But all of it always was intended to point towards the TT races. If you could map out or rank every rider who's ever ridden in the TT, if you could rank them for skill and bravery, I would not be in the upper half of that group. You know, I'd be in the lower half of that group, and you know, maybe I'd be in the lower quarter of that group. So, I mean, for me, it's not easy. It's my one chance, you know, to really just go and do the thing, live right in the moment, just, you know, me, the bike, the racing line, nothing else.
Finally, a reprieve. The weather holds on Thursday afternoon, and Mark gets a clean shot at the course. Unlike the early morning or evening practices, the timing of Thursday's session is also most like that of race day. It's mid-afternoon, and the sun is overhead.
It was really good. I mean, like I said, we haven't checked the times yet, but I know they were the fastest 4 laps I've done here so far, and I'm pretty sure that they were fast enough to get us into both races. When I first came, I met a couple of real characters, you know, like sort of hardcore road racers from Ireland, and I just met one of them on the grid walking around in you know, just like in his regular street clothes, and I said, "How's it going?" And he said, "Well, I fell off at Bungalow and broke my collarbone." Well, you know, for him, like, it's what he does, and he fell off at Bungalow and broke his collarbone, and he'll come back and do it another time, or he'll go and do another race. But for me, this is the race.
When the results are posted that evening, Mark's efforts are indeed rewarded. He's qualified for the Production 600 race, and it's a welcome lift to his spirits. From the very beginning, Mark's taken a slow and steady approach to the course. It's part of his overall philosophy and approach to racing a motorcycle.
The decision to go racing has meaning precisely because when you go out there, the consequences of an error can be disastrous. It's the one place where I found that I can stop thinking about what I'm thinking, stop thinking about what other people might be thinking about me, and concentrate entirely on doing a relatively simple task absolutely perfectly over and over and over again. And I mean, if there is a, you know, it's a bit of a cliche, but if there's a zen to motorcycle racing, what it is this intense focus on a very simple task. I guess this is a statement of the blindingly obvious, but it's about speed, okay? It's about going faster. It's about going as fast as possible. And actually, that equation, optimizing that equation, is not always so obvious. It's not about going as fast as possible in every possible spot. Often, to go as fast as possible overall, you need to go slow in certain spots, right? And of course, you know, you need to go as fast as possible without crashing, because if you crash, you'll never win. You need to continually ask yourself, well, I want to go faster. Where is the edge? The willingness to do that when you're aware that the consequences of an error in judgment can be absolutely disastrous, is an opportunity to really learn things about yourself.
Friday night sees the last session of practice. Though he's qualified for one race, Mark still has work to do. He still needs to post a time of less than 23.5 minutes around the course in order to qualify for the Junior TT.
I'm really very, very close to where I want to be. And I made a list of 20 points on the circuit where I want to be a little bit better. They're the key points for me, the keys to a fast lap. I'm really pretty much 100% confident that I can go out there and achieve cross the last critical hurdle. Hopefully we'll get a good start early, and there'll be a lot of fast guys behind me, which is what I want, because I want them to sort of tow me along, you know. These people are my instructors, right? Been to motorcycle school, and this is motorcycle graduate school.
True to his word, Mark pulls it off in the final session. After over 700 miles of practice, he's achieved a lap time near 23 minutes and qualified for both of his races. His cautious, steady approach has paid off, and Gardner has achieved his boyhood dream. He will race the Isle of Man TT.
You have been proud of me. I'm becoming a real good jumper. Yeah, I've got a really good technique now.
Yeah. Yeah, just grip the hell out of it.
Full body grip, like tank, gut, and then I just let go, and it works like a charm. It really holds it down a lot better. It's time to go home and drink some beer. People say, "Oh, he fell off," and because it's the most harmless sounding description of a crash. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it is very, very rare to just fall off at the TT. You know, if you fall off, you're usually still moving over 100 miles an hour when you hit an immovable object. So, but nonetheless, that's the phrase. He fell off. He fell off at Quarter Bridge. He fell off on the veranda. You know, I mean, often describing horrific crashes. He fell off at the bottom of Bray Hill, right? It's a really scary thing, actually, but people tend to use that phrase. In fact, almost everyone from here uses that to describe a crash.
So unique, that's the thing about it. There's nowhere, even though there's lots of other road races, but there's nothing just quite like the TT. Like, my dad sat me on the hedge at like 5 years of age, and I was like, that's what I want to do when I grow up, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. So I class myself really lucky, because not many people can like live their dreams, and I can. It's a true test, and there's nowhere else like it in the whole world.
The problem with here is there's so many sections that look like a nice long straight with a little corner at the end, yet when you hit it at 180 miles an hour, that straight is suddenly one long sweeping corner leading to another corner. And there's other sections which look like a series of really tight bends, which in actual fact you run straight through the middle of, and they're nearly not bends at all. So I think the problem with this place is that it's just so unique that there's nowhere else where you're travelling at these sort of speeds for this sort of length of time. All the time you're learning. Because once you've got one section a bit quicker, the next section's a bit quicker, you get that bit a little bit quicker, then the next section after that, and it's an ongoing thing with the TT, you're always learning. The feeling you get from riding around here, it can't be matched anywhere else in the world.
Some people obviously wouldn't come here because they wouldn't like the idea of it, but it is the ultimate road race.
We found it very, very difficult to go back to short circuit racing.
Yeah.
You're here for a fortnight and you're pumped up for a fortnight. You know, you've got to get the bike done. You are working to deadlines, you know, it's not like the bike's at home in the garage and, well, we've got a week to do it or 2 weeks to do it or something like that. It's got to be ready by tomorrow morning, it's got to be ready by tonight. And it's just hell of a rush, you know. We got all the things you can stick in your arm and up your nose.
Yep.
This is a lot cheaper and it's probably a bit better for your health.
How do you know it's cheap?
Eh?
It's great to see so many people from all around the world have joined with us again for the TT. We're just about equal with the year 2000, which was a record year in modern times, so we're very happy about that. We have a range of about 200 events which are put on throughout the year. TT is by far the most important. About 40,000 people, up to 40,000 people join with us for this one event alone. For the rest of the year, we market the Isle of Man on the countryside because it really is a very beautiful place.
Well, to me, the island was a necessary learning process because above everything else, this race here teaches you consistency, teaches you to race against yourself. I was told when I came 3 years, if you're going to keep coming, plan 3 years to be able to ride your best. Minimum 3 years. It's just too much to learn. You can't learn it the first year. The Isle of Man TT still has an appeal all over the world. People know it, and if you do well in the Isle of Man, they are impressed. You know, wow. But if you do well at Silverstone or Donington, you know, oh, that was good. You know, you're a good rider then. But it's not that same, wow, you rode the island. Even just to finish in the Isle of Man is something you'll tell your grandchildren.
I had told myself that my goal in coming here was to come here to qualify, right, and to ride and have the experience, and that's all still true, but I'm now realizing that you know, now that I've qualified, if I just go out there and circulate, that's not going to satisfy me. After the qualifying, there was a period of a couple of days there when, you know, I mean, I was a little bit disappointed. I think Paul was a little bit disappointed that you know, the tires didn't come back looking a little bit more worn. I would really, for my ego, like to be able to say, yeah, I've lapped over 100 miles an hour. And so, I mean, it'd be great to do that. It'd be great to score the finish and bring the bike back looking like it's done the job that it was intended to do.
Mark's first race is the Junior TT. 4 laps of the mountain course, and conditions are perfect. Of the 65 riders who entered the race 2 weeks ago, 46 have survived the mechanical and physical attrition and are racing today. For Mark, it will be the ride of a lifetime. junior goes well. Mark comes in after lap 2, and his crew perform a good, clean pit stop. That's an achievement unto itself. You don't get to practice your pit stop before race day. Mark continues well through the final 2 laps. 39 of the 46 starters bring their bikes home. Mark places 37th. A reflection of the breadth of talent across the field, the winners are already opening the champagne when Mark pulls into the paddock. At the TT, it's understood that completing a race is an achievement unto itself. It's perhaps one of the only races in the world in which you get a medal for just finishing.
All the way from Canada on a 600 Honda, Mark Gardner.
Heading into his second race, the Production 600, Mark focuses on his goal of lapping at an average speed of 100 miles an hour. Today, the top TT riders lap well into the 120s, but for a newcomer, a 100-mile-an-hour lap is still considered a significant achievement. With one race under his belt, Mark is in a better position to concentrate on improving his time. Race 2 goes well. Of the 90 entries, 62 riders start the field. 57 bring their bikes home. Mark finishes 56. His fastest lap, 99.28 miles per hour, just shy of that elusive 100. If Mark has learned anything, it's just how hard it is to race the mountain course.
I thought I knew how to ride motorcycles before I came to the Isle of Man, and I realized I learned as much here as I knew when I got here. You know, half of everything that I know about motorcycles, I've learned in the last 6 months. From early on in practice, I think almost maybe the first session in practice, I have really, truly felt that I've been participating in, perhaps not just the ultimate racing event, almost the ultimate sporting event. I mean, I really feel that there is nothing like this. There's nothing this uncompromising. For me, this is as good as it could possibly ever get. So for me, the medal doesn't just represent finishing this race, it represents getting to this race as well.
Racing motorcycles may seem to many to be a risky proposition, but in life, the real risk is the decision to not pursue your dreams. It's cost Mark Gardner $50,000 to get here, and even though he doesn't have a job or even a bike, he has no regrets.
The most fun I've ever had in my entire life. The best thing I've ever done. The hardest thing I've ever done. The most enjoyable thing I've ever done.